Hello, cinephiles and TV lovers, and welcome to Muscine Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the audiovisual universe. And today, we celebrate a brand new season of Muscine with a very special guest, Mr. Apichatpong Weerasethakul, the Thailand director from such films as Tropical Malady or Syndromes and a Century. A really remarkable director who has taken Cannes by storm, and whose passion for color, art, and especially for nature can transport you anywhere. And we have him now here in Colombia because he filmed a movie called Memoria that is out now in theaters, and it explores the life of a foreigner played by the incredible Tilda Swinton, who has a rumble that she cannot explain to anybody and tries to find answers here in this beautiful land and through the memory of this country. So that's amazing. But let's hear, and for the YouTube watchers, let's see a little bit of this trailer.
It's like a rumble from the core of the earth. Bang! And then it shrinks. This is probably 6,000 years old. A hole. Yes. Drilled into her head to release bad spirits.
Well, the movie is amazing and it's now representing our country Colombia in the Oscar entries, so we could have a really good chance of being nominated again. But now let's stop talking and go for the amazing interview with director Apichatpong to talk more about Memoria. Okay, first of all, it's an honor to have you here on Muscine Podcast and to have you here in Colombia. And of course, I want to talk about your cinema, your career, and of course about this movie. And first of all, I want to talk about how was it growing up in Thailand, in a house of doctors, and how did you get involved with the passion of cinema?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me today. I'm really excited to share this new film here in Cali. It's really cannot believe that I could be here during this time, and from Thailand. And with your question, just to go back to my hometown, how I grew up, like you say, in the hospital, no?
Yeah, in a house
it was
of
quite,
doctors.
Yeah, doctors, and it's like a bubble when looking back. It's nothing, it's a hospital, and for me it was like a playground, with something very serene, because the idea of time in that space is quite unique, in the hospital. It's a mixture of something very rushing in emergency,
Yeah, totally.
and something very slow because you are just waiting, waiting for the result, waiting for relatives to get better.
And I think with a lot of histories there, a lot of stories.
So I'm really attracted to that, because it represents home. Yeah. And at the same time, it's nothing, because in the past, 40, 50 years ago, there was nothing in that town. Yeah. So cinema is one of the escapes. Yeah. I think for me, it's the cinema and also science fiction books, comics, that kept me really active and just keep my mind imagining of the outside world, or the future. Yeah. So I think in the 80s when there's a boom of fantastic cinema from Spielberg, George Lucas, and I was about 10 years old, and that really, I would say, hooked me and many other kids at that time. Yeah, and so I wanted to be in the cinema since then, but I didn't know what kind of, I didn't know even like there's a director, there's a editor or whatever,
Screenwriter.
I just feel like wanting to be there, to be involved. Yeah.
Which movie did you think was like the first movie that impacted you into thinking, okay, I want to know more about cinema, I want to know how this was made?
I don't think there's any particular one especially, but it was a combination of films, as I mentioned, Spielberg, E.T. and Indiana Jones and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and especially that Close Encounters was really confusing for me as a kid, what I didn't understand, but the spaceship and mainly the spaceship design was really attractive. Yeah.
I want to talk to you about Chicago because I know you had a lot of influence from that town because you experimented there, or you saw or watched the first time experimental cinema. How that influenced you in your style of cinema today?
It was a time of revelation because I didn't had a chance, coming from a small town, have a chance to see a different kind of film, a personal film or experimental film, on the big screen even. So that's a big shock. And Chicago now felt like home of what you mentioned, big inspiration, cinema. Yeah. And it was the time that I decided that I want to make experimental film. It's not what I was making nowadays. I think, at that time it was more about abstraction, something more closer to those practice of experimental film culture, mostly American, in the 70s, 60s, and it's something that you can do by yourself.
You study architecture also. How that combination between architecture and cinema is going for you?
It was quite a very comfortable relation, that when I start making experimental film, I was thinking like I'm building something, like a house or something that people occupy the space, so there's a play of light and the play of rhythm in this space of the frame of a 16mm film. So I think the term structure of film, for me is really like architecture, related, and later it become more, I would say I would become less conscious about structure of the film.
Because in your films you don't have that kind of 3-act structure that is like unique, and especially from like classic cinema, you don't have that kind of structure narratively.
It depends on the film, Okay. I didn't have I would say from the beginning I had some vague idea from the script, but all the time once I start shooting it, they slowly emerge, that it tells you what it wants to be.
Well, I want to talk about Memoria also, and the first question I have is why Colombia and why Colombia now?
Oh, ¿por qué no? I just feel that it's a fate because I came here 2017 for FICCI.
For the FICCI,
And I just felt right at home, and I feel comfortable with the climate, with the people, and more so when I started to travel around the country, and I came here in Cali as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was such a time to just open up myself and think in a very free way, not only about film but also about art. And then later, after I don't know, maybe a month or two, I start to write
This film.
Memoria. Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think so. There's something magical about the place.
You said that this film is so personal to you because you have that symptom of the rumble in your head, and I want to know more about that. What is that symptom? Do you have it still?
It started many years, I don't know, like 5-6 years back, and it was mostly in the morning, and as it's bang, and I didn't like jump or anything, but it just felt peculiar because it's in the head.
Yeah.
Nobody heard it, and I thought it was something. I didn't think of something serious because I didn't go to the hospital or anything, and so I just be with it, for years, and then I came here too in 2017 with that symptom. Yeah, so it started to become part or the main part of this film. But again, I didn't pay attention until later. I searched online and discovered that okay, there's a word for it. It's called exploding head syndrome.
Oh.
Yeah. And
What is it about?
it's about this. We don't know. They don't know what caused it. Maybe stress.
Okay.
Yeah. And once Memoria started to show in Cannes, and then some people told me that I also had it. So that is very interesting to me. That it's something that
That other people share
it's
with
very
you.
cinematic, I think.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. What are the similarities between you and the character of Jessica?
she's me to a certain point, coming here and feel isolated and trying to connect at certain level to the city, to the people, to the memory, and also to her own memory. And that's, I feel like there's a time when I was traveling here, I am also struggle with certain personal issues, and realize that it's so little, compared to what happened here, what happened in Thailand, and the river of time that is, that link us, the mainly suffering and hope. So Memoria for me was not about story, but about an experience and about sharing this experience. Yeah.
What did you learn about the Colombian culture here in your journey?
I don't know if I can say it, officially Colombian culture, because I also cannot say what is Thai culture, It is just really subjective experience, but it's something that I'm attracted to, how people live with nature, with such an abundance of natural forces, with the earthquake and the landslides, and and when I was here, I went to Quindio and other places, and people were protesting about the mining in and so there's a sense of how you say protection, to protect nature, and also to protect the treasure, a local treasure, and also dignity. Yeah, and that I found very inspiring, because I look back to Thailand, and it's also similar. People start to get aware. Yeah, And another similarity is violence that happen when you are going against or when you are try to ask question to authority or to some dark power. But here there's a lot more violence. I feel like the violence is really heavy. Yeah. So I express that side of feeling into this film, and I hope some people could be synchronized with it more or less. Yeah.
I want to talk about color because for you, color is very important in your films, and I think you capture nature so great. And I think about Tropical Malady, and I love the way you captured the nature in that film. And I wanted to know, like, how did you find the nature here in Colombia? How did you find it to capture the nature here? Was it difficult? There are different colors in comparison to Thailand.
It was much diverse, right? There are snow space with snow, and there's some desert, and there's a tropical. There's all kinds of colors here, and I feel overwhelmed. And in fact, the original intention of coming to Colombia was to go to the Amazon, but I still haven't been there until now. I was really attracted to the city and the people. So, and there are a lot of colors to be found, in town, and yeah, each place. This morning I came from Medellin, and it's another kind of colors, and more importantly, stories from people, and how people in different city believe in different thing, and it contribute to the differences. Yeah,
Totally. I want to know, how did you decide that Tilda Swinton was going to be the star of your film?
I don't know how many years back, but it's more than 10 years. Yeah, that we want to work on a film together, and Memoria was that film that I wrote with her in mind when I write. Yeah, it's not about casting or anything. It's Tilda for this. Yeah.
I want to know, how did you decide on the Colombian cast? Because we have Juan Pablo Rego, Elkin Diaz, and they are big stars here in Colombia. But how did you decide, I want to work with these guys, they are right for my movie?
We had a lot of casting process, and I didn't know that Elkin and Juan Pablo was big stars. For me, I thought like, I discovered them.
These new stars.
At least, yeah. For me, I really discovered these beautiful souls, of the actors, and because I didn't have knowledge about the scenes here, the industry, I didn't know that they are in this film, that film, so I didn't have the image or many images of them, so it's fresh. So for me, they're fresh, and I feel like it has to be them for these parts. Yeah.
I also want to know if you find different the styles of acting between, the Colombian actors and the Thailand actors that you have worked with.
I had no idea, because there's so many kinds. We have a lot of soap operas, and that overacting kind of style that was a big problematic for my kind of film. And so even like professional actors also have that kind of acting in some people. So that's really challenging for me as well to cast here, because sometimes I can sense it, no? Yeah, but sometimes I cannot. Most of the time I cannot. Yeah, so I need a lot of help from the team members and acting coach. And, yeah, it's not only that, but also how you move. In how you dress, how you move, how you speak, everything is new to me. Yeah.
And believe me, some of the actors here in Colombia are big actors, but TV actors. So they have that soap opera style.
Right.
And that's difficult and tricky for many filmmakers, and especially when they want to go to cinema and be on movies, sometimes it's complex to take them out of the soap opera style. So that's interesting that you find in Juan Pablo and Elkin something different for your movie.
Yeah, of course. There's a lot about communication and trying to make synchronization of these characters, and mostly it's about being present, because we shot on 35 millimeter, and most of the time the whole row, so it's like 14 minutes and in different angles, so they have to play from start to finish, and that needs to be present. No, it's not about memory, it's about just be with your partner in the scene or be with the environment, and so that quite how you say, demand focus, dedication, and these two actors, all the actor, I would say, delivered and just really dedicated to no complaint at all. Yeah.
That's amazing. For people that haven't seen the movie, how could you explain the movie to them?
I would say, like I said before, it's an experience, and you just relax and you just follow and become Tilda, become Jessica.
Yeah.
And don't expect anything, just like float.
And also I want to know, like, this is your first film outside Thailand.
Right.
Do you expect to do more films outside Thailand?
After this film, yes, because I feel spoiled and I feel that, it's such a beautiful experience that to try to learn new language and to understand and to understand that not knowing is the most profound sense of being, to admit that you don't know and just to learn, or to just keep not knowing and to just approach it like a child, and that's really, for me, is energize this new phase of career. Yeah.
Solo aquí en Muscine Podcast.